Seltzer Kings
podcasts.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a very special episode, a crossover, a Seltzer Kings exclusive crossover. This is Boys Watching Buffy meets the Bradshaw Boys. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke. We've got Vance here, and then we also have Kevin and Cory from the Bradshaw Boys. Kevin, Cory, welcome.
Thank you. How's it going? This is Cory.
Yeah, we all need to do a voice identification.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
normally I go, this is Vance, but Joe introduced me by name. And so
The thing that is very exciting for our listeners is a lot of them probably don't know if we'd ever do a pod again, let alone if we were even alive. So to all of the Bradshaw Boys listeners out there, we're back. Yeah. And probably the confusing thing to the Bradshaw Boys listeners that has always been confusing is me and Kevin and John. John is not with us today, but Kevin
he's
and
still
I
alive though, right?
He's still alive. John
Oh,
is with the world. I don't mean
Okay.
to say, yeah.
Okay.
John is with us, and he's very much alive. He's not on the pod today. But Kevin and I, multiple times, people would be like, I can't tell the other guys' voices apart. And that's who you have today, is the guys whose voices sound kind of the same.
We
So there you go.
literally have that same problem on Boys Watching Buffy.
Yes.
I don't understand. I feel like my voice is much higher pitched than Vance's, but people still get it confused.
I know people
can just
keep
pitch it
saying I'm
down.
Vance, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. You could pitch it down like you're a murderer in or like a witness protection thing and like a 2020 thing. Just do it that way. And then they can tell you apart.
podcast. Well, guys, we're all here to talk about the 1987 romantic comedy Mannequin. But before we get into all of that stuff, I know, Kevin, you're working on something on Off-Broadway. You want to talk about that for a little bit real quick?
Yeah. February 11th, I've been touring a show around the country, and then and I took it over to Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and it's opening off-Broadway February 11th to March 8th, 2021 shows. And it is a storytelling comedy show about chess. I've been teaching chess for 12 years and been working really hard on this show, and was very fortunate to get a whole bunch of great reviews in Edinburgh, and this opportunity to do it off Broadway fell into my lap, and Cory's directing it. So
Hell yeah. That's awesome.
So yeah, we're super, super excited about it. And please, if you've ever listened to the pod or if you are interested in it, I think I don't know. I'm more excited about this than anything I've worked on in a long time. So it's kind of a big opportunity, a full month of shows, and yeah, it's gonna be really good. It's about chess, but whether you're an expert or a beginner, you can enjoy it. And yeah, one of my favorite reviews I got in Edinburgh is you will leave the theater learning more about chess and more entertained than the Queen's Gambit could have ever done for us. And even I read that, I was like, all right, take it easy. But they gave it a good 4-star review and said that, and I was like, wow, thank you very much.
That's
awesome.
So
Yeah.
sick. Where can people find out where to get tickets and stuff? How can they find out where it is and all that kind of
Yeah, it is at the Soho Playhouse, and so on their website, it's right on there. The show's called After Endgame, a comedy show about chess. And also at my website, I'll be doing it in LA as well at the end of March 30th and 31st at the Lyric Hyperion Theater.
Oh,
So
shit. Okay.
at my
yeah.
website, kevinjamesdoylecomedy.com, all of the shows at Soho Playhouse and Lyric Hyperion, New York and LA are on there, or those websites for the theaters, Soho Playhouse or Lyric Hyperion. So excited
Sick.
to get to do it.
That's awesome.
That was
Yeah, thank you.
the question I was going to ask is like, did Queen's Gambit just like kind of, is it one of those things where like Queen's Gambit became popular and you're just like, this isn't real chess?
No, I really appreciated Queen's Gambit was wonderful. No critiques of it at all. There is like a really challenging, especially because once you're watching a show, there is only so much you can do to like teach the nuances. So the live performance is a kind of great forum in order for me to be like, I can go a little deeper with chess because part of it is like a chess TED talk and part of it is a story and storytelling. So they did as good a job as I think anyone's ever done as far as film and TV involving chess. I do think I have a great idea for Netflix. They didn't do it, but it would be cool if you could watch that show at easy, medium, and expert level, and you could, and there would just be added scenes. Like if it was hard, it's like goes really deep into like middle game theory that like just the nerds watch, and
Yeah.
because some people would be obsessed with that, and other people would be like, "What? Come on, does she keep on with this drug habit or not? Let's get to the."
Yeah.
They seem like they really kept the expert level drug habit on. Like it's
On
that level
high.
for the show.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
maybe like dial that down and dial the chess up. Although that
Yeah.
is
Yep.
what keeps the show very interesting a lot of times.
Yep.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's awesome. Super pumped to see it. I didn't know that it was coming to LA. I just knew it was in New York, but now that I know it's
Yep.
at the Lyric Hyperion,
Yeah,
fucking make a
yeah.
trip
Please come
out.
out. That'd be awesome.
that'd be
Yeah.
sick.
And our neck of woods.
Yeah.
Where do you guys live in? Silver Lake or Los Feliz?
I'm in Los Feliz.
I
Los Feliz. Yeah,
can't
myself.
tell people where I live because of some restrict. No, I'm in like North Hollywood.
There's an early episode of Bradshaw Boys where back when we were like, no one's ever gonna listen to this, and I just said my address on it as like a haha joke.
Boy.
And
Oh
I've
my
been
gosh,
like,
I remember that.
I need to go re-listen and cut that out. Because then once it said like 10,000 listeners to this episode, I was like, there's got to be one of them that's a psycho. There's
Oh,
got to
yeah,
be
yeah.
one of them that is this is a disturbed individual.
And not sure which one they're going to go see. They got to see it in person.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of the Bradshaw Boys, since this is going to be split on both of our feeds,
Mhm.
our listeners might not know what the Bradshaw Boys is. Can you tell them what that is?
Oh yeah.
Oh.
The Bradshaw Boys. I mean, our intro tagline. If you're listening to this on our feed and you've listened in the past, you would know that the Bradshaw Boys. It's Welcome to the Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three guys are watching Sex and the City for the first time ever, mostly, and then we introduce ourselves. And so, what the Bradshaw Boys is myself, Kevin, and John. We had a project years ago now where none of us had ever seen Sex and the City. We say mostly because I had seen, I think, 2 episodes, and I'd seen them multiple times. And John had seen a little bit over his wife's shoulder, and then Kevin knew about it. I'll let Kevin in a second tell you how he knew about it. But basically, the three of us decided to get together and just watch the show as a first-time watch, as you guys have done with a lot of shows. And really not knowing how we would feel about it, and we turned out to be like great fans of the show and watched the entire show for the first time, watched the movies, watched some of the new show, had cast members on. We had Sarah Jessica Parker on a couple times, we had Kristen Davis. We did a COVID episode where we had a bunch of the cast come on in in the height of COVID. So it was like a very like, let's all bond together and do this together. And it's just a whole podcast about the lore of Sex and the City, but 3 guys watching it for the first time ever. And I will let Kevin tell his experience of how he knew about Sex and the City before.
Well, I used to be a tour guide, and I would get offered Sex and the City tours occasionally, and I accepted them even though I hadn't seen a single episode. So I would give Sex and the City tours without knowing what I was talking about. I just knew the facts of what the place was. People would be like, wait, is this where Steve and Miranda? And I'm like, I don't know. Is it? And they're like, it is. And I was like, okay, cool.
That's just the whole tour of just, I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, just like, just an eyebrow raise every time. Like, ooh, they're like, and what's funny is like, as long as I got on their side in the first like 20 minutes, once I told them that, then they loved it. All the people, they would be like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. They knew more about everything, and they were just like, oh, this is so funny. Also, I do want to toot our own horn. We reached out to Willie Garson and had Willie Garson on the podcast during COVID, and he was one of our favorite interviews, and it was really special because he passed away, I would say about a year and a half after, and it was just I don't know. It was really special because he was such a wonderful guy, and his character on Sex and the City is so iconic and so beloved, and so when he passed away, it was kind of surreal for the podcast because I was like, oh, we'd never seen the show. I didn't know anything about this actor, and he was so lovely, and then it was just special to have that opportunity to connect with him in a way that when you start a pod, you're like, I'm never gonna talk to these people, and then it was like became just like a really special moment in the pod that I always look back on. I'm so glad we were able to have him on. So shout out to Willie Garson, rest in peace.
Yeah,
You know?
an amazing guy.
Well, that's very lovely.
Yeah.
I've never seen Sex. That was one of the shows that I think Vance and I talked about maybe discussing it, and we didn't because you guys existed. So we're like, we can't compete with the Bradshaw Boys. What the?
But one reason we did not do Sex and the City was because you guys did it.
That's really funny.
Wait, what the hell are you guys watching? We watch that show.
Let's get them.
We're the Bradshaw Boys. You're the
Yeah.
boys watching Buffy, or boys
Yeah.
watching Girls, or boys
Yeah.
watching Veronica Mars, or whatever you guys are watching.
We could have
You
like
guys,
a Biggie
we
Tupac.
the HBO crew, okay?
Hey, you stick to the vampires. We'll stick with Our Ladies of the Night, okay?
Hey, Girls is the spiritual follow-up to Sex and the City.
We're closer than you know.
Yeah. Which is
I'm
how like
watching-
Hey, you and I, we ain't so different after all.
Wait, let's get a cannoli.
I'm watching Sopranos for the first time ever right now.
Yeah.
I've seen same deal with Sex and the City. I'd seen a couple episodes. And I
Yeah.
used to work for a job where we would recap TV shows. So I
Mhm.
saw the final season of Sopranos, but now I'm watching Sopranos for the first time, and it's funny because all the bad Sopranos impressions, like we just did, like that, it
They're in the show.
completely makes sense. It's just like, yeah, it's a
Yeah.
bad impression. It's also
Yeah.
incredibly spot on for the show. It's like they really act like that.
You just
It's such a good
wish
show.
it wasn't accurate. You're just sitting there
There's
like,
a lot of
"Ah, why did
gabagool."
There's a lot of gabagool. There's a great gabagool mashup on YouTube. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
A little bit about us, if for people on your feed that
Oh, yeah.
don't know us. We're boys watching Buffy. We're first-time watchers of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which we have seen every single episode of that now.
Mhm.
And we had Adam Bush on as a guest. He played Warren on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was great. Delightful interview. Check that out. And before that, as we mentioned, we did Boys Watching Girls. That was our first podcast. And currently, we had just started watching Veronica Mars, another first-time watch. So
Cool.
Yeah.
we're plowing through.
We're all
That's
a bunch
great.
of dudes first time watching lady TV shows here.
That's right.
But now we got all those introductions, plugs, etc. out of the way.
Mhm.
We got to talk about this movie, Mannequin.
Yeah.
1987 romantic comedy directed by Michael Gottlieb, written by Edward Rugoff and Michael Gottlieb, starring Andrew McCarthy, Kim Cattrall, James Spader, Estelle Getty, G.W. Bailey. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce this guy's name, but it's Meshach Taylor.
Oh, Meshach Taylor.
Meshach
Taylor
Taylor.
of
Yeah.
Designing Women fame. Yeah.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes.
And Dave's World.
And Dave's
This-
World. Oh my gosh.
This Academy Award nominated film.
It was nominated for Academy Award.
Best
Okay.
original
Best
song.
original
All
song.
right. Thank you for the clarification.
Hey, they could.
That's
they
where
could put it
Nothing's Gonna
on-
Stop Us Now came from. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the thing I remember from this movie.
Yeah.
You've
That's
seen
what
this
I
movie
remember this
before,
movie from.
Vance?
I have seen this movie before.
I've never. Have you got? Have Kevin, Corey? Have you seen it?
I had seen like dribs and drabs of it throughout my life, and I realized this time I'd never seen the full movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time. I mean, I since once we started, there's a few shows that would pop up when we would do Bradshaw Boys episodes. People like would talk about iconic things that the ladies were in, and this was the one that would come up with Kim Cattrall. Like it's for how like I won't even say bad, like how campy
You can
the
say
movie
bad.
is. Like
I'll
really
say
has
it's
this
bad.
pretty. It really connected with an audience though. People are not like
Yeah.
like people really like this movie. We would hear about it for years. People are like, "Oh my gosh, Mannequin, I love that movie." And then you see it, and you're like, "Huh." I wasn't expecting like Citizen Kane, but I was
Mhm.
a little taken aback at like how farcical it really was.
It's definitely if you look at the state of the movie industry today and you talk about movie making, as soon as this movie started, Kevin and I were like, man, Hollywood was in such a different place at this point.
Right?
Like
The
they
economy was in a different place. I mean,
the economy was in a different place.
this guy is just picking up jobs left and right.
Dude,
Oh, yeah.
He's got a
This
piano in his
guy-
apartment. I don't want to go too
His-
far.
dude, his apartment was incredible. It was
For a guy that
huge,
can't hold down a job, he's got a nice apartment.
right?
Yeah.
I love at the end when the guy is like offering him a job and he's like, "I'll give you $55,000 a year." I was like, "Oh my god,
This
That
is vice
wouldn't do.
president's salary.
yeah,
In $87? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
oh
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of money
Amazing.
in 1987 bucks.
But before we like dive in, I feel like we should do like a little like overall synopsis of like
Sure.
what the movie's about.
Especially considering that this movie is almost impossible to find.
Dude,
Oh my gosh, I know. When we were talking about it, I was like, cool, we'll watch it. And then we realized it's only available for purchase by Fandango.
yes,
Yes. I don't own a lot of movies, and I own this one now.
yep. I own 0 digital movies except for Mannequin.
Do you guys know the commercial before movies when it's like, you wouldn't steal a car.
Yeah.
You wouldn't steal. Well, I stole this movie. I downloaded it on BitTorrent. I downloaded BitTorrent in order to download this. So if the FBI comes to my house, I'll be like, listen, it was for the podcast.
I hope that Lars Ulrich of Metallica comes and finds you. Do you guys remember when Metallica was very anti-piracy and
Oh,
Lars Ulrich was
absolutely.
like, don't download music.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I'm surprised it was on a BitTorrent. Like,
I mean, yeah, good point.
It downloaded within 30 seconds. There's a lot of cedars out there.
oh,
It's a
it is like
popular
a
movie
cult
for the 80s.
classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is considered like there is a lot of love for this movie, and like it's just one of those campy, like you guys were saying, like very farcical types of deals.
Yeah.
I was just blown away that like it wasn't on Amazon. I saw something that was like it might be on Apple TV. I got a free trial of Apple TV, not on Apple TV. Tried to get it on Microsoft, and I have a Mac, and they were like, you can't use it. So the only option was Fandango at home.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
apparently BitTorrent. So
Mannequin
if
2,
you're,
though. Mannequin 2, available to rent.
Good Lord.
Wow.
Yeah.
good.
That is so. I wonder why. I wonder why. That is odd.
No Kim Cattrall or Andrew McCarthy in that one.
Mary
No, is
Swanson,
Meshack
but
Taylor in
Meshach's
Mannequin
there.
too?
Meshack is in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, now this is the part of the movie that I never saw coming, which is the first scene where we're in
Mhm.
ancient Egypt, and a woman is taking refuge in a pyramid because she doesn't want to marry camel shit seller, and she wishes that she doesn't have to marry him, and she wants to. She would rather find true love than enter into an arranged marriage, which transports her through all of time until she's in Philadelphia in 1987, and she takes the visage of a mannequin that a guy named Jonathan has created, and he falls in love with her. She's his artistic muse for these mannequin display windows at a department store, and then the rival department store owner is all pissed, and he's like, how the hell are they getting all these customers out of mannequin windows shopping stuff? And the guy falls in love with a mannequin, but not really a mannequin. She can only be seen by him. He's got a sidekick named Hollywood, who I love. Fantastic character.
Yeah, the mannequin comes to life, by the way. They just don't really explain it. She just comes to life randomly.
Yeah, it's some kind of a Anubis Egyptian god type shit, I guess. And yeah, she can only be seen by Jonathan, and like if anybody else is present, then she turns back into a mannequin. Eventually, they fall in love, and it breaks the spell of her being a mannequin. She becomes a real boy, and they get married. And that's kind of the
It's
whole
like,
thing.
have you ever seen Pinocchio? Yeah, but hot.
You know what I was getting from this movie a lot? It's Toy Story took a lot from this. People see him,
Yeah.
she can't move, and then it's like a Toy Story 3 ending, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and the weirdest wedding scene I've ever seen in my life. Was
Yeah,
the camera
oh my
just
God.
rolling and they didn't tell them that there was action? Because they're just standing there before they kiss. No one's doing anything.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I watched that and it's just like silence standing,
Yeah.
and then they kiss, and I'm like, did Meshack, is Hollywood officiating?
I thought
What
that
is
Hollywood was
happening?
officiating, but they had a priest as well.
Yeah, and he's behind them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ed is at the department store.
Yeah. It felt like a lot of the end of movies in the 80s where it
Mhm.
was just like, and then there's a kiss, and then we go happily ever after, and you know that you just need that setup, and then
Mhm.
they just let it play out. And
Yeah.
you're just happy that it's happening. Doesn't really
Mhm.
matter if it's pulled off well or anything. It's just there.
I mean, not
Yeah.
only did it take forever to get, like, it looked like no one said action, but at the end, it was just like literally everybody was waiting for the freeze frame to happen.
Mhm.
Like, it was just rolling and rolling. Like, I rewound. I was like, did I miss something? No, they're just laughing and hugging each other.
Yeah.
And then we get the
It's like
freeze
when
frame.
they actually wrapped the movie, they're just like, it's like the actual end of the production. They're just like, cool, we did it. We made Mannequin. We'll just add that part in.
I gotta give it credit for having the most accurate portrayal of Egyptians. When I see Kim Cattrall, I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
Egyptian.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Complete Egyptian.
I mean, I love having the fact that it's such an absurd premise.
Mhm.
I feel like if you could just have the thing in the department store and then be like, how'd you get here? Be like, I'm from Egypt, and leave. Like, I think you could have cut that opening scene and it would have made a lot more sense. Instead, it was like, no, we got to explain how she even got here. And instead, it's like, it sets you up for how absurd it is. But I feel
more
like if I were to
confusing.
give it a rewrite, I would just be like, you know what? You actually don't need that Egyptian part. You can just start in the department store and just reference that later.
Yeah. 1,000. Like, even if it was just like a magic mannequin, like, I could get behind that. But then when they show the Egypt stuff at the very beginning, and then they had the animated credits intro,
my
and she's
gosh.
like going through time.
She's
Yeah,
also
I
a
was like-
cat. She also has a tail.
Yeah.
Well, that
They're
was
doing
what
the Egyptian cat stuff, I guess.
Is that supposed to? I was wondering if that suggested that since like her spirit has just traveled through time and she's been in lots of different other inanimate objects through history. I think she was on the boat with Christopher Columbus at one point, maybe
Mhm.
in that opening sequence. And I just imagine like, oh, she's just a trapped spirit, until like for all of time until she gets to 1987 Philadelphia.
I didn't think of this until you explained it, Joe, and said it, but it is funny that it's just like, it's like the soul is then sent to Philly in 1987. Like,
Well,
if only I can find true love. And it's
right?
like, well,
Dude,
here's
she's
the time
talking.
and the place.
We see her go through all of time. Like, she references, she's like, yeah, I was on a boat with a guy named Chris. Like, he was like obsessed with me or whatever. And then she ends up with the fucking department store worker
Yeah.
in Philly in 1987.
I think it has something to do with how we're very self-referential, and you got to think like the time we're living in now, that's the time. And so as they're making this movie, they're like, well, if she's going to go anywhere, she's got to end up in present day, not thinking about, one day 1987 Philadelphia is going to be 1987 Philadelphia. At the time, it was like malls,
Yeah.
the
Pastels,
the 87
Miami Vice.
Eagles, the 76ers, Meshack's glasses. That's what
Yes.
we're going for,
They were talking about the opening scene. They talk about women don't have rights to choose and stuff, and it's that, and they go to 80s, and her big goal when she gets to the 80s is wanting to fly, which I did not
Amazing.
know was an Egyptian thing
Yeah.
that they were trying to do. When I got to the end of this movie, I was like, if they cut out the opening scene, which they might have added later, maybe not because they animated it. If they cut out the opening scene, you get kind of Lars and the Real Girl situation where you're not
We
sure if he's
mentioned that.
crazy or not. Yeah. Like he
Yeah, when
could
we
be
were watching
crazy.
it.
We keep seeing him with the mannequin, and you're like, is he really seeing this, or is it? It could have played up that, but once you see the beginning, you're like, no, obviously she's a spirit. But then she explains traveling through time, and that makes it confusing because she also says you built me and you created me. So what was she between him building that mannequin?
I think that can be pretty clearly summed up in the fact that writers Edward
Rugoff and Michael Gottlieb were probably on cocaine when they came up with this idea. I'm getting that vibe of just like, yeah, but he created her. I mean, that's the thing. It's like
I just
I
couldn't
think
get.
that a
Oh,
good
no,
version of a good but also wacky version, if you think back in It's a Wonderful Life, Clarence is an angel. He comes down and is kind of bumbling and weird, but then he also is like a star. Because you remember when they showed two stars in the sky and it's just him speaking, I think, to God? Is
Yeah,
it just Clarence and another angel speaking?
I think it's just
And
like boss
so-
angel.
Yeah, he's talking to his boss angel,
It's Boss Angel.
boss hog angel. But yeah, that one is pretty fantastical, but it's executed in a way that you're like, yeah, that's an angel and he's a star and then he comes down. That made a little more sense than this one needed one more draft of the world they were building.
Well, I read
Yeah.
that the idea for the movie came when Michael Gottlieb was walking down Fifth Avenue in Manhattan and passed by Bergdorf Goodman and thought he saw a mannequin move in the window. That's where the premise of the movie came from.
And he
So
saw
I think,
that and
like,
it was
you
like,
start-
that's fucking hot.
Yeah, exactly. He was like, bro, did you see that mannequin move? Good God.
What if she moved all over me?
I mean, the lead character in this is attracted to the mannequin before it becomes alive.
Yeah, Kevin and I were talking when we were watching it that it's interesting where, you're to see how much cinema and just the bleakness of society has moved forward. Like you're in the 80s right now where we've got, movies like Caddyshack and you've just got these like fun time 80s screwball movies. So it's like, yeah, this guy's a nerd. He's in love with this mannequin. Nobody can see it. He's in love with the mannequin before she turns into a woman, and then he gets the girl at the end. But then if you take this to its logical conclusion, we were saying that, you eventually get to, like you said, Lars and the Real Girl, which is more heartfelt, but, about a guy who's in love with this real doll. And then you get Ex Machina, which is a movie about, building the woman of your dreams that then enslaves you and kills you. And so, like, we started high with Mannequin. We've just moved down the rungs to something like way more real. And I don't know, maybe it's all one continuous story. Maybe Kim Cattrall is in Ex Machina and kills Andrew McCarthy.
Yeah, we're not having fun anymore. We're not having 80s montage, dress up, dance numbers in the department store anymore.
Yeah, definitely not. No. Yeah.
Definitely not. I also love that, like, they make it so Jonathan is the guy that like builds the mannequin, falls in love with Kim Cattrall's character, and they make it seem like he's like this tortured artist where he's like, this is my creation, this mannequin, but it's not like he made it, like all the parts were there. And like when he's trying to put the mannequin together and he's grabbing arms, he grabbed like the buffest like dude arm and he was like, no, that's not right. It's like, bro, there's only.
I was surprised he was that it didn't just start with him working in the department store, that he had the mannequin and then he had to get back to having the mannequin. Like instead of him just working there and it's like, hey, can I get a promotion? Can I do this? No, we want you to be a pizza delivery guy, a balloon seller. Like, they sent them all out to send them back to a new department store. I don't even know where the first department store was, where he was at.
Yeah.
I guess it's the same place.
Mhm.
Or I guess he was working at the mannequin.
He was working at like
place.
a mannequin.
Like a mannequin factory, sort of. Yeah.
See, that's another thing, just like from a logic's point of view, I don't think the department store people are really in a deep relationship with the mannequin makers. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's clearly someone who doesn't work at any of those places. Just like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course they go to the mannequin factory to pick up. Yeah, there's just a little bit of a logic thing there. It's clearly people that are not, and this is the problem, they don't understand the actual culture of mannequin culture. They don't understand what it's like to be department store workers. These are just Hollywood, out of touch Hollywood liberals that don't understand.
Cats.
Yeah. They spent all their time in college studying Egyptology, getting that accurate. But the mannequin stuff, that's where they
Exact-
fell apart.
Yeah. They don't understand shipping and receiving. They don't know how department stores work. They don't know there's a whole separate company that Sears has contacted to bring them in. And the display setters, they don't even work for the department store. They're brought in on another contract. Yeah, this is all stuff that could be fixed if you just had a job, not as a screenwriter. Yeah.
Only issue with the movie is that logic.
That's it. Yeah. It's more of a labor thing.
I think you guys have opened my eyes. I think this movie might be a bunch of bullshit.
You're like, what the hell?
I don't know.
One funny thing that I saw is that it's like, it was pretty savaged by critics. And it's funny because it says like, here's a few of the reviews. Say, Mannequin is a real dummy outfitted with a ludicrous concept, painfully earnest, just like just ripping it. Leonard Maltin said, absolute rock bottom fare. Dispiriting for anyone who remembers what movie comedy should be about. Roger Ebert said, a lot of bad movies are fairly throbbing with life. Mannequin is dead. Okay, but then listen to this one review, and then we can guess where it came from. The message of Mannequin, clumsy as it is that the greatest place and time in recorded history is 1980s Philadelphia. Truly, this is the most uplifting film ever made about the city. That's in the Philadelphia magazine.
There you go.
They're like, fuck yes.
Wait, that's the most uplifting one?
It's truly the most uplifting film ever made about Philadelphia. They're just thrilled.
When did Rocky come out?
That's what I was going to say. I wonder when Rocky came out.
Yeah, there's a statue to Rocky. I don't see a mannequin statue.
Oh, they're everywhere, Vince.
Oh, you got to just go to the right
you got to
neighborhood,
open
my
your eyes.
friend.
You got to walk
gotta go
by
to-
the Macy's.
Yeah, you gotta go to Prince Street or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, dude, I was
The
reading
school kills lined with mannequins. Yeah.
I was reading the reviews too, like the one. It's like Mannequin is one of the stupidest movies ever conceived and one of the worst, which makes it in its own lousy way mesmerizing.
Wow.
There was a oh no, he's Baltimore. But there was a John Waters quote. I saw him like in an interview, and he's like, everyone's ironic now. Everyone wants to be bad. He's like, I wasn't trying to make bad movies or campy movies. I was just making my movies, and people were like, these are horrible. It's great. And but he's like the thing we've lost in like irony culture is like there's some things that they weren't trying to be bad. And I was like, this actually got all the way around the circle because it's earnest and because it takes itself seriously. There is a charm to it that it's not good, but there is something that is like watchable and charming. And then also when you look at the cast, you're like, oh yeah, this is maybe not the most well-written or well-directed movie, but it's making some wild choices, and there's absolute superstars.
Yeah.
Like Kim Cattrall and James Spader crush it, and they're clearly incredibly talented. Even in this movie, you're getting a great performance.
Also, we talked about it. Meshach Taylor is insane in this movie and incredibly watchable. Like, he is ridiculous, but he comes across, as just this like friend who kind of saves the day. I love at the end when he's got the water hose, when he's like spraying the water, and he's like, how do you turn the water off? And they for everything the movie does in a very ridiculous way, they really do kind of form a hero's team by the end, and they like defeat the villains, which I think is kind of what anybody wants in those movies. And it's pretty wild. I don't know how many movies came out in 1987, but it is pretty crazy that
Like 5.
without any of us ever really seeing this. What'd you say?
Like 5 movies. There's
Yeah,
about
5,
5
okay,
of them.
cool.
Yeah.
So this one survived. This one survived out of the 5. It's pretty wild that people still know about this movie. There's got to be so many other movies from 87 that people don't know about.
One of the villains in this movie, played by Carol Davis, the Roxy character.
Yeah.
She's in an upcoming season of Veronica Mars, which we're reviewing, and she was in an episode of Sex and the City.
Whoa. I'm going to look up and find out which one she was, because I know Right
Yeah.
now, I know that our listeners already know who she is. Maybe the listener that knows who she is has stood outside Kevin's apartment at night since they have his address.
That is
Well,
the
I
reason I'll do the
also-
IMDb like rundown, because I know listeners are like, but that person was in this thing. Like, how are you not talking about the guy that's in Police Academy?
Yeah, totally.
I did love Meshack Taylor at the end where he's got that fire hose and he's just spraying down the same 5 cops for like 10 minutes straight. They just
Totally.
keep getting up and slipping over. And
Yeah.
I love how there's no water pressure, so he's just like kind of holding it like limp wristed with one hand. It's like,
Yeah.
and you just spray.
Yeah. But it's too much for the Philly cops somehow.
Yeah.
They just like can't take it.
That chase
I
scene
just,
in the mall is just,
oh, it's great. It's awesome. Yeah, they don't. Chase scenes are so much more intense these days, and they're not really. They're not as
goofy.
lumpy
Yeah.
and goofy as this.
Yeah.
You know, with the dog. The dog.
Mhm.
When the guy tells the dog to go one way and it runs the other way, and he's
Yeah.
just like, oh man, I don't.
Oh. Or
Usually, any security people that have dogs now, the dog's a lot more vicious than that dog for
Yeah.
sure.
yeah, Rambo.
I just looked up who the character is in Sex and the City, who Carol Davis is. I don't know if this will mean anything to y'all, but it's Amelita, Kevin.
Oh, wow.
Amelita, Carrie's friend, who they go shoe shopping together. Amelita,
Yeah.
big character in Sex and the City, like very, very recognizable character.
Well,
Very
there you go.
important.
All right. Yeah.
Good to know. Also,
so
I
it-
think that the mannequin was in Sex. I feel like she was
Yeah.
in it.
Well, what is Sam something? What was her name?
Some mannequin. Her name is Mannequin.
Some
Sex and the City. Yeah. Yeah, completely.
Apparently, she didn't find love with Jonathan Switcher, and she
Yeah.
ended up
Yeah.
making friends in New York City.
Yeah,
She
exactly.
left, she went to New York City and she's like, I don't want to be in a monogamous relationship with you. I want to get plowed by half of Manhattan.
Yeah, exactly.
And she lived out that dream.
Oh, yeah.
We're very proud of that Egyptian goddess woman. Spirit.
Yeah.
Very proud of her.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that Andrew McCarthy, I recognize him from Weekend at Bernie's. And I think that is the thing he might be most... No, I don't know if he's most known for that. He's still working today. But Weekend at
Yeah.
Bernie's and Mannequin are two 80s cult classic. What is this movie? What are we doing? This is ridiculous. And yeah, he's doing it. He's wearing bowling shoes the whole
Dude,
movie.
Right? He's wearing bowling shoes the whole movie. That was tripping me out. I don't know why, but I was...
80s, man. 80s.
Also, sometimes like his shoes would switch in the middle of a scene where he'd have like these white shoes on, and then they'd switch to the bowling shoes. Sorry, guys. This is
this
a
is
Joe
great.
Welke
It's
thing
great.
where I just like get hyper fixated on some of the fashion stuff. That was like the first thing I noticed about that guy. I was like, is he wearing fucking bowling shoes? And everybody's wearing the suits with the sleeves rolled up and the weird lapels. Oh my God. And I mean, obviously Hollywood sunglasses. Iconic.
Yes.
Iconic
So good.
shit.
The car reveal was the best.
Yeah.
I was looking up this guy. He's still at it.
Mhm.
See,
Yeah.
I remember Weekend at Bernie's, but I don't remember him from other stuff. I haven't seen that movie in a long time, but
Oh, yeah.
he's just one of those go-to actors. Just like
Yeah.
been cruising along, crushing it for a little working
Mhm.
class actor, you know?
I mean,
Yeah.
he was massive in the 80s.
Yeah, he was like a Brat Pack.
He was in Brat Pack, yeah. I think I might remember him first from Pretty in Pink.
Yeah, he's in that with James. Is James Spader in that too? I
James
believe?
Spader
James
is in
Spader
that.
might be
Yep.
in that too, yeah.
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 James Spader is also in that.
It's so weird
yeah.
to me to think of James Spader used to be like a heartthrob back in the day.
Yeah.
Because he's so slimy and like everything that I've ever seen him in, like I've seen him in Boston Legal, the Blacklist or whatever.
Ultron.
Ultron, yeah. And The Office. He's always playing these like weird, slimy characters. And like even in this, he is number one hamming it up. Like
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
motherfucker.
he is having a
Like,
blast. You know what he reminds
is
me of?
very aware what this movie is, I feel like.
Yeah.
He reminds me of Liam McPoyle, one of the McPoyle brothers from It's Always
Yeah.
Sunny. The
Oh,
actor.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
funny.
funny.
Down hair.
Yeah.
But he's just very like, he's got these really snake-like movements and stuff. He's just so weird. And to think of him as like, people are like, James Spader's in this? Oh my
Oh
God.
my word.
He's got the Riz. He's got the Riz.
I guess he had the Riz in Boston Legal. I do remember that.
You're the only person I ever met that talks about Boston Legal so much.
I loved that show, dude.
That's
Have
great.
you ever seen the movie Secretary?
Oh, I have.
I haven't.
I did not
Yeah.
enjoy that movie because I don't like Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's James Spader just like in a little BDSM
Mm-hmm.
under kind of like weird unsaid like little relation, and that was my introduction to him, and I was like, wow, this guy is peak just kind of like charming creep.
Yeah.
That is a really incredibly hard archetype to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
Charming, likable creep.
Yeah. Takes a talent.
Yeah,
He definitely, that is his weird archetype, I think.
Yeah.
Because like that's kind of what he was playing in Boston Legal. Like he was like this womanizer lawyer. And I do remember Secretary. He was just like, just risen it up all over
Yeah.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah.
Just like, really? James Spader? Okay. All right.
I just wanted to mention one other actor, Estelle Getty, who's in this.
Oh my gosh.
One of the Golden Girls.
Legend.
Amazing.
Legend.
Sophia from the Golden Girls.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Just enjoying, just knowing that he's hooking up with mannequins. Got it on tape, but she's fine. He's making
Yeah.
her money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
It's fine.
He's like,
Listen,
we'll
you
keep
t-
that between us, and I'm gonna hold on to this tape for later.
You take care of A, B, and C, and I'll keep it between us.
What a promotion to go to VP.
Oddly enough, I mean, there was like a nice little acceptance storyline in the movie where like the security guard played by the dude that was in MASH, G.W. Bailey, he's just like trashing Hollywood. And then Jonathan, and he's just like, you're a bigot. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, in 1987.
Yeah.
Okay. And so he like sticks up for Hollywood. And then when Hollywood walks in on him making out with the mannequin, he's like, I don't give a fuck about that, man. Like, we got to, it's like, do what you got to do, sweetheart.
Just don't take my job away from me. 'cause
Yeah,
you're taking-
exactly. Yeah, he
Yeah,
cares
sure.
about what
You-
matters.
You kiss a mannequin to get your muse? Sure. Teach me your ways. Like, what do I need to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was lovely. Oddly, very lovely and accepting.
Well, I think that's got to be the key to a movie having a long like life. It's like if there's that little charm to it, clearly it had like its fan base from the beginning, and it has some iconic actors. But it's like having those moments where you're like, wow, this ages really well socially. Like
Yeah.
that's like it's much more refreshing than being like, oh my gosh, I love Audrey Hepburn, and then you turn on Breakfast at Tiffany's and you're just like, holy shit,
Yeah.
Mickey Rooney, oh my gosh.
Completely.
There's no wink at all in it. Like,
Yeah,
even
like
though,
when-
even though, Meshack in this is acting as if he's Jordan Peele in that Gremlins 2 Key and
Dude.
Peele sketch.
I
It's
said the same
100%
thing. I
that.
was
Yeah.
like, that Key and Peele sketch has to be based off this somehow.
I think he's wearing the glasses too, right? Like,
I think he is
Yeah.
wearing the glasses. Yeah. I think he walks in with the glasses, then maybe takes them off. But he's
Yeah.
100% Jordan Peele in that Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah, but I mean, Hollywood's just awesome. I love his car. His little Hollywood car cover. That was badass.
Yeah.
Hollywood rules, man.
It makes sense that I guess, do we say Meshack is the main one in Mannequin 2? I mean,
Yeah, he's one of the carryovers.
yeah, that seems like someone that if you've already kind of had the story that she's a real girl now and they're married, if you want to have some character with the juice to carry it on, it's probably going to be Hollywood. I'm not saying it's a good idea. I'm just saying that's probably who you got to take with you, because he could build more of a story. It seems like he would just maybe have a completely different spin-off movie, but I'm sure Mannequin 2 is like a mannequin is back.
Well, I think I read in Mannequin 2, it is a bit of a different thing where I think that the guy falls in love with like a hologram rather than a
Great.
mannequin.
Nice.
I could be completely off on that.
It's
But-
Christy Swanson, the
Yeah.
original Buffy.
Yeah.
Whoa. Wow.
she's from the
what a
year-
Did you
tie-in.
know that?
She's from the year 991 in Germany.
Wait, did you know that going into this? That she was
No.
Wow, that's an insane tie-in.
Yeah.
I mean, we're good at this podcast stuff, right, guys?
Does this mean we have to watch Mannequin 2, Joe?
This might mean that you guys need to do Mannequin 2 for the Buffy podcast.
Oh, no.
But yeah, like what you guys were talking about how there's like, you know, it does kind of age well. It's still acceptable to watch, and you don't have to worry about like me and Vance, we'd watched Weird Science.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering about that because we mentioned that when we were watching this. It was like that there's a fascination with like making your perfect woman in the 80s, and Weird Science
Mhm.
was one that came up.
Yeah, we watched Weird Science for our movie podcast on our Patreon, and boy, does that one not really hold up.
Wow.
Wait, which one? Weird Science?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Weird Science.
Oh, yeah.
It's a wild fucking movie.
I'm torn because I wrote down what in a Weird Science when she just came to life and there was like no explanation in this movie. She just comes to life. Meshack leaves the room. She comes to life and she's like, hey, whoa, I saw you outside. No explanation until like 20 minutes later, a couple scenes later. She's like, you know, I can't be real when other people aren't looking. I was like, that has never been explained. We're 40 minutes into the movie. I know
Yeah.
it because I know the premise of the movie itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, Weird Science, I'm torn between whether I enjoyed this more than Weird Science. Now, Weird Science is a better made movie, I will say,
Yeah.
crafted wise. But enjoyment wise, I'm a little split.
Yeah, I mean, there's like an earnest sweetness to Mannequin, I feel like it's very sweet. Weird Science, there's just some like awful stuff.
It seems like a movie, from what I remember from just like seeing a preview when I was a kid or something. It seems like it is a movie where it's some nerds who dream of girls and then they try to make this woman and they just want to give her really big boobs. Like, I feel like that. I could
that's the
be
beginning, yeah.
completely imagining that, but I feel like that was like somewhere in the
Mhm.
like boyoing like feeling of the 80s.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're not off. You're not too
Not
far off.
Robert Downey
That's a-
Jr.'s in there too. Yeah.
Wow.
That's how you should review the movies. Weird Science gets 4 boyoyoyoings.
Definitely.
Nice.
On the boyoyoing scale, where does that land?
Yeah.
And speaking of boyoyoings, like when they show the topless mannequin to start this movie, and then she later strips down and he's like watching and covering her up, and she's just looking at him.
Yeah.
It's a interesting, strange thing.
It's the
Because these
dream.
movies they always just threw out the boobs. They always went topless. You go topless in all 80s movies. There's always going to be
Completely.
some toplessness.
For
But
no
the
reason.
toplessness with the mannequin in the beginning was very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, they left some up to the imagination, you know?
Kim Cattrall was like, I'm not going full frontal. Is this
Yeah,
her? How many movies had she done at this point? This is a
She'd
real question.
done Big Trouble in Little China, I
Yes.
think, before this. She did say that this movie, I think because this was like pretty well, it was a pretty big movie at the time. And she'd also done, before this, she did Porky's and Police
Yeah.
Academy.
Okay.
So, and Big Trouble in Little China was right before this. But I think I read a quote that she was saying when this came out, it was about, this mannequin who becomes a real woman. But, a mannequin is based off of like a statue of a woman. And she had to actually pose to get the mannequin made of her. So she had to pose in front of a like sculptor to make a mannequin that looked like her. And she said that she focused on doing a lot of bodybuilding, just, which I think she just continued for the rest of her career because she's like jacked for the rest of Sex and the City. But she said that this movie made her feel like a leading lady, and
And she was.
she was a leading lady. Yeah, she became just like the
real leading actress in this and not just like a prop in all the other movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, she does look jacked as hell at some points in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, I remember
Yeah.
she's walking around with like her midriff exposed at one point, and I was like,
Yeah.
damn, look at those abs, dude. Like, she is shredded.
Yeah, she's shredded in Sex and the City. Her and Sarah Jessica Parker, they're all amazing. But like Sarah Jessica Parker and Kim Cattrall's abs and just like they should really release a workout routine video
Yeah.
from that era.
No,
They
I
should have
mean,
got it like with the leg warmers, jazzercise it up. But yeah, just I don't know.
that
Seen-
bodysuit with the thong, like just
Yeah.
doing in the old
I have to remind
Skechers.
myself when I see stuff like that, like I'm 39 now. I look and it's like, hey, you're looking. That's Kim Cattrall. She's 24. You can't base your the point where you're at with your body even as much as you work out. You're looking at a 24-year-old at peak physique, you know. So
Yeah. It doesn't stop us from being sad though. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
Kim Cattrall, I wish I had your abs.
yeah,
Hey, if you need abs like that, if you're gonna hang glide in a windless department store,
Yeah,
exactly.
completely.
That was the most insane thing. I was watching that scene just wondering, like, how did they do it just even practically for the movie?
In that like small space, you
Yeah.
usually have to hang glide off a mountain, not just in the
Yeah.
atrium of a mall.
I think they
Yeah.
have something hanging down on it, and it's just kind of circular, just like a string, and it's just rotating her around. Kind of like
there's
she.
a lot of cuts in it too, and I kept seeing like which one of these is also like just a mannequin or like a prop, because you're not going to be actually hang gliding in a mall. How
Yeah.
do they do it? It was, I mean, number two, that mall was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean,
one
department
store.
stores
They have
are department stores were huge, just like that Macy's in New York.
dude,
like,
they had a fucking organ in there,
Yeah.
like a cathedral to capitalism.
Yeah, there is like it's kind of crazy because the department store was
it was it. Yeah.
it was like you would never imagine that it's like gone now because it was just like the part of everything. Like
Mhm.
I don't know, this is like a part of American culture that you're sort of like, oh yeah, that's in the past, you know.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of the height of luxury. I mean, like you have Fifth Avenue and you have
Mhm.
people, like they said, he said he saw a mannequin move in the Bergdorf Goodman window. But for the rest of America, the place to go was the department store. And it's even like Beverly Hills, like that was department stores. You walk in, you have all these movie shopping montages of people going into a department store, like in Pretty Woman, where it's like, you can't shop here. And then she comes back with all his money.
Mhm.
That was department store was like the biggest thing. And it
Yeah.
wasn't that you're just going to order it online and try it on at home.
Yeah, that montage is a little different in Pretty Woman if she's just in a computer on a computer ordering
Yeah.
stuff.
Totally. She's just on her phone for
She
20
gets an
minutes.
error 404 message before she
Yeah.
gets his money.
Error 404. You're too poor to be on this website.
So there's this, I saw it when I was in college. Some friends did like a 1-act production of it. There's this old show that was called ABC Stage 67. And it was basically like I don't know, it was like kind of like Twilight Zone, only, it was like small stories.
Yeah.
And Anthony Perkins is in it, who's in Psycho. But it's about this guy who goes into a department store to escape from the world because he hates the world. And then he stays the night there. And there's all these people that live in the department store. And they have like their whole like society there. And he falls in love with the girl. It ends up being like a Romeo and Juliet thing inside of the middle of the night. They stay at this department store. And then the end, he's like, I want to be with you. And they want to run away to be in the world. And then the end of it is them as mannequins in the window. So it's like the society like turned them into mannequins so they get to be together forever, but they're trapped. And it was in all of that. And on top of it, it's a musical.
No
So
way.
it's like a 60-minute avant-garde weird department store mannequin musical that is really odd. But it's like it's kind of like Mannequin, only it's like incredibly serious and kind of like horror feeling vibes too, like creepy musical. It's a weird piece of department store media out there.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that sounds like Twilight Zone, but there is a Twilight Zone episode about a guy and a mannequin. It's called The After Hours. And it's kind of a similar premise where, like, you know, a guy turns into a mannequin in the end after he's being like, oh, what's going on with this? Because they all come alive at night or whatever when everybody leaves. So
a lot of lore with these mannequins. It makes sense. They're like, I can see.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of this stuff has to come from like when you're a kid. Like it is odd, you know.
Yeah.
You see just like a faceless, weird body with like that's I don't run into mannequins anymore, but I can understand where there's a lot of where these stories come from.
Yeah. I mean, they were definitely more prevalent, like in stores. Like if you had a store and you sold clothes, you had to get a mannequin. Like,
Yeah,
you couldn't
completely.
not have a mannequin.
And then like
there.
the arm would be off, or like
Yeah.
stuff that is really, I guess when
Mhm.
you like think about it, is very interesting and visual, and like gives your imagination to be like, oh, their arm
a
is
little
off.
creepy. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just like everything. Like, you know, clowns are huge now, where
Yep.
it's just like, oh, clowns are so scary, but it's because when you're a kid, you got traumatized by seeing a real
Mhm.
weird clown or something.
Yeah.
Dummies are always. I
Yep.
mean, that's the one for me. I remember the Goosebumps,
Mhm.
Slappy, like Night of the Living Dummy. That shit, I can't handle dummies. Mannequins, fine. Dummies, no.
What's the difference between a dummy and a mannequin?
Dummy is like a ventriloquist puppet.
Oh,
you can
like a
put your hand in
ventriloquist
it.
dummy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
got you.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
like
yeah.
ventriloquist dummy.
Yeah, they kept
Don't
referring
watch
to
Toy Story 4, Joe.
Yes, I have, and it was brutal. But they kept calling Emmy in this movie a dummy, and I was like,
Yeah, he kept saying, "That's the dummy. She's the dummy. She's
Yeah.
the dummy."
She's like, that's a slur to my people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Only we can
What'd
say
you say?
dummy.
Dummy.
Yeah. Okay.
That's our word.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Did you notice that the weight of her kind of shifted? Because everyone else could just lift him up and carry him, but sometimes he couldn't get her off of him when she
Yeah.
turned into a dummy, when she's falling into the wood chipper like she's not.
Yeah, well,
He
dude,
can't
was
like
having
lift her up.
He couldn't
And then
lift
she
her
turns
up
into a
as
real person. I'm
mannequin.
like, she's going to be heavier, right? She's
Right?
got to be
Yeah.
heavier as a person.
Dude, the whole movie, he's carrying her around all over the place. He's got her on his motorcycle and shit. And then, like, when she's about to die as a mannequin, he can't pick her up. And then she turns into a woman and he can? The fuck out
Yeah.
of here.
I think it's just like a big thing for just drama to just it's just like dramatic pause, like, oh no, can
Yeah.
he lift her? But it doesn't make any sense in physics.
Now, here's my question for you guys. If you were him, a mannequin's coming to life. It's the love of your life. Would you take her home? Or would you just keep sleeping with her at the department store during work hours?
Both.
Yeah. I think
Uh,
I would
yes,
move into
both
the
and.
department store. Yeah, both and. I think I'd move in. I think I would do that. Yeah.
I think she would be like, you know, if she's the love of my life, but still, like, if you bring her home too quick, she might just, you know, you don't want to be too thirsty. You want to be like, listen, I want to keep my personal life separate.
You don't want to be too thirsty. You want to talk about
Yeah.
having kids with her at the department store, like you said?
Yeah. Yeah. So you just want to be like, listen, I want to take this slow. Listen, you just got to Philadelphia from ancient Egypt. I don't want you just all of a sudden moving in. Like, I care about you. We are on a path to being like official, but just like, let's take it easy because I need to wrap around like what I'm looking for, and I don't want to lose myself.
I love how at some point in the movie, she's worried about her holding him back from following his dreams.
Yeah.
No, it's like,
Yeah.
you're frozen half the day. Do you not
Yeah.
care about that? You used to be a real person.
Yeah.
And she's like, time for me to go in the window and pretend to pedal the bike
Yeah.
to onlookers.
Anything so that this guy will be able to achieve his dreams. I'll be here for him literally, physically as a doll and emotionally as well. Anything to, yeah.
When they made that, like, bicycling window one, her mannequin in particular was
It's so
horrifying.
creepy.
looking.
Those
So
legs
scary.
moving were weird.
Well, she was, like, also looking up
Yeah.
and just, like, mouth agape. It looked like, I was just, her mannequin in particular was a little bit too creepy for me to want to go and shop it, the Prince and Company department store. What kind of scary shit's going on there?
But the Illustra has Armand over there, and he's really laying it on thick with Roxy.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
With the sexual advances and the accent.
Yes, that accent. People talk about Meshack in this one, but I don't know. Armand is, he's the problem.
It never happens, though. I swear, this never happens.
This never happens.
He's got to get his own mannequin.
Yeah, when they go on the date and he's driving away and it leads to a car chase where the car gets stuck between the buildings, which I thought was a cool visual.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, he's definitely going to take her to his apartment so she can like walk around, see stuff, see something that's not the store. Is he going to like go to dinner somewhere and have it private? I don't know. I was like, there's so many things to do. And they're like, nope, let's just go back and have sex underneath these furs, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Don't you
want to
see some of lovely Philadelphia?
I'll take you to the docks where no one can see us and you can't see anything.
I love how quick she can turn real and not real.
Right.
But she also remembers everything too when she's not real. Like she can see. Like there's a person in her when she's a mannequin, which is frightening to think about.
It's like someone just playing freeze. It's like them freezing and being like, okay, I'm still here. They just don't know it.
Yeah.
And then she remembers everything.
That's actually one of the beautiful parts about this movie and the fanhood around it that there is. It's like, hey man, there's so many plot holes, so many things that don't make sense, but
just go with it.
It's kind of inspiring to just like, you put something out there and sometimes it just hits and people are just like, hey, I don't know what to tell you. I like it.
Yeah, you can't have a rational conversation with someone that just like, this is their childhood, this is their nostalgia. I love this movie. We do reviews with our friend Johnny, who if the nostalgia hits on the movie, there's like nothing you can say.
It's over.
She can admit to all the stuff that's wrong with it, but it's like, nope, this is still a 10 out of 10, no notes.
I don't care.
Yeah, it's like Apple Jacks. People ask you why I like them, you go, I don't know, I just do.
Yeah, my friend the other day, we were over at we were watching the Grammys and we were talking about something and he mentioned something he didn't like and I was like, come on, man, I like that. And his wife was just like, hey, don't yuck his yum. And I was like, that's it.
Yep,
don't yuck
that's
my
what it
yum.
is. Yeah.
You know, and that honestly, that's what was fun about watching this. Just watching, being like, hey, there's a whole bunch of people that love this. I want to partake in Mannequin so I can understand what the hype is about. And I honestly, I get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a seemingly harmless movie. I don't know. There's been a lot of write-ups on the Meshack character and other stuff. There's obviously like the think pieces that would come out if this was released now. The YouTube videos, the explainers, the breakdowns, it would be amazing. And but yeah.
That's Mannequin, everybody.
Any
final thoughts for Mannequin? I enjoyed it. It was cheesy fun, man.
I don't know what you guys do on Buffy and the shows you watch, but we always give a Cosmo rating at the end. 1 to 5 Cosmos for all the Sex and the City episodes, and I think we could give a Cosmo rating to this, maybe.
Yeah, we could give a Cosmo rating.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's
1 to 5 mannequin arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm giving it a solid 3 out of 5 Cosmos. That is for performances, for icon, just an iconic 80s thing that you're just like, you know what? This was in all of the camp. It's like, it is not a 1-star movie. It's not a 1 Cosmo movie. It is not Citizen Kane, but it is a solid, throw it on, enjoy it. Well done for a bad movie. And I think that a lot of these reviewers that really gave it bad reviews at the time, I think they look back, they'd be like, you know what? I took myself a little too seriously back then. I think Leonard Maltin would be like, you know what? I'm sorry. I took myself a little too seriously. It wasn't that big a deal. It's an enjoyable film.
You got to set the bar somewhere, though. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to set the bar somewhere. And I'm just saying that I set it at 3 out of 5 Cosmos for this. That's where I said I put this movie the same place I put like one of the lesser movies in Quentin Tarantino's filmography. Mannequin and Death Proof are kind of the same level for me.
Interesting.
Wow. Okay.
Just kidding.
That's great. And Death Proof, that girl gets her leg cut off and it flies through the air. It's like a mannequin leg. It's like a
Yeah.
piece of a body just flying.
It was
there.
his homage to Mannequin. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I wanted to do. I loved Mannequin. I was making Death Proof.
I love that you made Quentin Tarantino Woody Allen there.
I did, yeah.
It was
totally.
just like
that was a lot of confidence, and I don't even really know what he sounds like. I just
Quentin
know that his
Tarantino
face looks
Shevitz.
intense. Yeah. Yeah.
He's Jack Nicholson.
No, I'm Jack Nicholson. Yeah. I'm going to give it a 3.5 Cosmo. 3.5 out of 5 Cosmos. I think the same thing where, I didn't expect it to be good. And I think I walked away seeing the Egyptian beginning, and I was like, of course, why wouldn't this be in here? There's a lot of people obsessed with weird Egyptian stuff in the 80s too. The Bangles, Walk Like an Egyptian.
Yeah.
A couple years after this, we got Michael Jackson, Remember the Time, which is like another Egyptian, which is done a lot better than this in terms of the Egyptian part. But I wasn't expecting Citizen Kane or The Godfather, and I think I got more than I bargained for. Like it actually, with a lot of the problems that are there, it's still like a fun, weird, stupid romp that's really great. And you get to see these actors doing something a long time ago, like James Spader, which I knew he was in the movie.
Yeah.
And it took a few looks to be like, that's James Spader. Oh, okay. Wow. Didn't recognize him until now. And I want to read a Letterboxd review that I think kind of sums up this movie. It just says, cocaine was one hell of a drug. The 80s were wild. This movie makes no sense. I love it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great review for this movie.
That is that encapsulates everything about this movie. I think I'm with you guys. I was gonna say if we're going by the Cosmos scale, I was gonna go 3.5 Cosmos out of 5. I think it's harmless fun, holds up. I mean, socially kind of well. Like one thing that I've read about it was like people did love Hollywood as like he was a positive, like heroic character in the end, whereas like back in the 80s, gay characters were just like made fun of and all this shit, and Hollywood was dope. I thought 3.5 Cosmos alone for Kim Cattrall's abs. So that is where
for sure
I stand on that.
Yeah, I'm going to diverge from the Cosmos scale and go 3 mismatched mannequin hands.
Okay.
Not even arms,
I like
just
that.
the hands.
I like that.
2 wooden thumbs up.
Yeah. And yeah, this movie it's a tight 90. It's a lot going on. The montage in the middle, I just wrote so 80s. They're just playing dress up, Phantom of the Opera. They are having a blast in this department store. And that's what it is. It's just a collection of like random scenes and like people playing. And I haven't heard anything bad from this movie of like on set was a nightmare, because it just looks like they're having fun and just playing around and just, yeah. And it's something about Andrew McCarthy. He has this like boyish look and smile, and he's upbeat about everything the whole time, even though his life falling apart seemingly. He calls his mom once, and that was just it.
Yeah.
What I remember from this movie was the wood chipper scene and like the song at the end. That's kind of what I remember from having watched this a long time ago when I was a kid or something. And I was wondering how they got to that. How were they going to get to a point where she's in the wood chipper machine? And the way they get to it is so crazy that Roxy's like, this is what I'll do.
Yeah, the jealous ex, jealous of the mannequin.
Yeah. I really thought when I saw the opening Egyptian scene that whoever wanted to marry her was going to come back and try to get her back or something.
Oh, that would have been interesting.
I really was like, that's going to, someone's been chasing her through time or something too. But no, they don't do that. It's just Roxy, who kind of likes her boyfriend, but also doesn't like other women.
Women.
I don't know.
All right, boys.
Listen, we are the experts. We host these podcasts about shows about women. We're definitely the experts.
That is
Said
that
very
is what women
tongue-in-cheek.
want. They want us to tell them what they're.
Yeah, we talked about how the Bradshaw Boys was like playful mansplaining. We were
Yeah.
like, we're basically trying to mansplain an entire show, and while we're talking about women's empowerment and realizing that we're doing the opposite of what this show is doing. But now that we accept that, we can
Yeah.
keep doing it, and we're like, yep, exactly, that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We always say we do not we're men, so we do not understand female relationships and friendships, and we'll never get them, but we'll talk about them.
And you're able to learn from them as well.
Yes,
we learned
yes.
so much stuff from the friendships in Sex and the City. We were like, these are real friendships, and they like cause you to be more vulnerable and see like how great real friendships are in these cities too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, that is a wrap for Mannequin. I hope you all enjoyed this. Check out Bradshaw Boys if you're interested in their podcast. You just, search Bradshaw Boys, cover Sex in the City. Check out Kevin's show if you're in New York or LA. What's the website again, Kevin?
Just my website, kevinjamesdoylecomedy.com. There are tickets there, and it's at the Soho Playhouse after Endgame, a comedy show about chess, February 11th to March 8th, and then in LA, March 30th and 31st.
Hell yeah. And check us out. Boys Watching Buffy. Just search Boys Watching Buffy. We're covering Veronica Mars. I know that's a confusing thing, but if you love Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I feel like there's a lot of crossover with Veronica Mars as well. So that is a wrap, everybody. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Later, taters.
A lot of lore with these mannequins.
Seltzer Kings.
Podcasts.